to record as well.
There it goes.
Very good. Well, good. Hey, welcome. Today is an extraordinary day, and I'd love for you all, as we start our program, put in the chat something that you are really happy about, grateful about, excited about. Hey, listen, you get to fill in the blank. Something that you're looking forward to in the chat. Put it in the chat. Welcome, Carol. Glad you're here. So, welcome to all of you. Good something that you're excited about in the chat. And of course, use the chat to connect, put in your LinkedIn connection, your LinkedIn, uh, whatever you'd like. Put it in the chat and we can be sure to connect with each other. So thank you for making the time. Your time is so important. And Susan and I know that. That's why today's program is going to be extraordinary. And it's extraordinary because you're here. So thank you. So let me jump in. Would love to just share a couple things with us. And of course, our program today is really timely. And Susan's going to tell us more about why, especially, it is timely. Humanitarianism. And this is, guess what, ladies, sisters? You're part of a new body of work that Susan is creating, and it's extremely exciting. So, hey, we're get to be part of a launch. And if you've ever been part of a launch of something, give me a little sparkle finger here. We're part of a launch. It's exciting. So thank you. I'm Kathleen Caldwell, founder of C-Suite Network's Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. Hey, I'm a coach consultant like you, an author, speaker. I'm a lover of all things fun, life, loving, learning, just like all of you, and growth. And if you too are a lover of growth and learning, moving forward in your life, but loving today, put that in the chat. Give me a little yes, give me a little love, give me a little growth, something like that that's inspiring to you. And before we get going, hello, I'd love to just do a very quick shout out for our recent programs. We're on Zoom in our masterclass. Our masterclasses are interactive. Susan is going to demonstrate that in just a moment, but every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And so our program last Thursday was extraordinary. Thank you to you, Angela Fowler. We had a great program on hiring for champions and how to increase accessibility in the workplace and in the world. And Angela is the creator of Make Business Accessible, the global movement. So be sure to connect with Angela on LinkedIn. Sheila Anderson shared about how to be styled for authority and success. Fantastic program. And by the way, you can see at the bottom, all of our replays are on our YouTube channel. So go check out our YouTube channel. We were so thrilled for you, Julia Lynn. You are our speaker talking about heart health, life health, loving life. It was a great program, too. Thank you. And of course, I was a speaker last month talking about how to become the category of one and how to increase your high ticket sales success. Hey, we've been around business for a long time, each of you and I. It's time that we really get paid, right? Paid, rewarded, appreciated. And this program was all about that. So be sure to check that out. And of course, our programs Launch Your Million Power Moves. We talked about workshopping and making more money as a corporate coach consultant. Thank you to Gloria St. Martin Lowry about DEIB. Hey, it is alive and well, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We also had a program about burnout. And of course, thank you to you, Carol Kammerer, to talk about LinkedIn leadership success. Susan talked about humanitarianism a little while back. We're reprising this, but with new ideas and content. We also had a great panel on to become the category of one. And of course, always corporate coaching and consulting. Hey, how many of you know that in the corporate world, in associations, organizations, and government, businesses and organizations, they need us more than ever before? How many of you know that? And that's part of today's program. The world needs us. And so today's program, we are so thrilled to have Susan K. Younger talk about an important topic that she's going to speak about. And this is going to be very interactive to get you involved, to think about who you are as a woman, who you are as a leader, who you are as a global movement maker, right? And with that, I'd love to turn the program over to you, Susan. Be sure to check out with Susan on LinkedIn and Facebook on all the social. But I think the most thing that I'd like to share with you is Susan is an extraordinary person. She's always the first person in any room to raise her hand to support you, to help you, to be your trusted ally. She's the biggest advocate of everybody in the room and most importantly of herself and her pups and her life as well. So take yourself off mute, please. Let's give a beautiful round of applause to Susan K. Younger.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate that.
you.
Kathleen, I just want to let you know you were getting some of those gray boxes over what you were sharing. So I know you're working with a new computer today, so some of that may be part of the effect that's happening there, getting everything adjusted for that. So I'm going to share my screen when I find the right one to share, right? Well, hold on. Let me do this in the proper sequence because, first I need to launch the PowerPoint so I can make sure I am getting the slideshow to you and at least do a couple of pieces that I can then really be able to, and now I've like lost the entire, there we go. Then, be able to at least share with you what I want to be able to share with you. And then we will really frequently do a few slides, then jump into discussion, because I do want this to be all about humanitarianism and really engaging with who are you and why it really matters more than ever to stand out as the uniqueness that you are in order to be that light in the world, to be that person that really can help to bring things together. So I really want you to ponder this. What if you could feel at peace within yourself? And this way you could handle everything that comes at you in life. It's not just the good, it's the ugly. It's the toughness, the things that really make life in moments unbearable. But when you truly are at peace with who you are and how you handle it, you know how to pull your sisters around you as we do with this group. Know who in your family to turn to. Understand what you need in terms of support from others, support from systems to function at your best, and when to call in the reinforcements and when to say, this is mine. So I'd really like to have you ponder that, but I'm going to stop the share and ask you, can anybody tell me what they know about themselves that this kind of brings up? Like, oh, wait a minute. This is what scares me most. This is where I feel secure. Or even if you want to put in the chat, what do you feel is missing for you? Because to me, part of this being able to move forward an idea and a concept of humanitarianism is we cannot care for others until we can truly care for ourselves in a way that leaves us with enough energy to move forward respectfully of who we are before we give it all away to others. And as leaders, frequently you will put on that mask and say, I don't need to show any of this that isn't comfortable to me, when sometimes it's sharing that uncomfortable moment in a very respectful way of others, not dumping on them, but making them understand that in this moment, you may not be at your best. So how can they help you to uncover what you need to pull together in order to really complete that perfect discussion about whatever that topic is? Anybody want to throw out thoughts? Please, I really want this to be a place where we can start to discuss how we take these things forward in life for ourselves and how we take them into business, where we know there are tough things, where we know there are people who don't look at the future or the problem or the solution in the same way that we do. But we still have to engage with them in a respectful way in order to create that activity that is going to create what we want in business, that is going to engage the right hiring and retain the right people and move us forward for the success we want the business to be, whether it is our personal business or whether it's the company we're working for. Have I just scared the hell out of you?
And Susan, maybe we could step to the side for a moment and also say the context for this is how many of you have realized that the world seems to be more polarized than ever before? People's stress levels, as coaches, consultants, trusted advisors, your clients, many of them are just, they're spent, they're burned out. And here we are here to support our clients, whether they're CEOs, Suzanne, or they're women executive leaders, Julia Lynn, or Carol Kammerer, or Terry, organizations, of course, with big problems. But how many of them are just, they need support, and we're their lifeline, right? What are you noticing, and how are you responding to it?
We got a quiet bunch today. Molly, thank you
Oh,
for raising your hand, dear.
You're welcome. And I may be off topic, so you might have to bring it back in, Susan. But based on what Kathleen just asked, what am I noticing? I'm noticing that organizations are reaching out kind of as that last lifeline to keep their people. Because to your point, Kathleen, people are burnt out, they're fed up. They want organizations where they're aligned with the vision and the mission, and that it's not just talk, but they're actually doing it. So that's just what I'm noticing, that people are ready to get up and leave and do something different, and organizations are panicking and hiring coaches. That's in my world.
Thank you, Molly. There's a lot of truth in what you say because it is difficult to find the right people when the vision that's stated and the way it's actually being executed in a company are not aligned. So part of that, getting the correct message aligned with what the company's mission vision is sometimes what's lost and makes it difficult for engagement of the employees they're working with. Deb.
So what I have found, and is exactly what you all were saying, but lots of crankiness, and I mean, just yeah, people are on edge, whatever it is, but and so then I kind of go into turtle mode. Right, I'm just not going to deal with it, which is not always the best way to be doing this.
And thank you, Deb. And it's great that you recognize that. That's part of that self-awareness of what happens to you in those situations. So you can find those people that can help you to get over those automated reactions that we all have in times. Jillian, and then Julia.
So I'm starting to get really into studying geomagnetic physics. And when you have collective people who are essentially the vibe is not vibing, that actually does create some distortion that basically space weather interacts with. And on August 1st, we had a G3 storm wipe across the United States. And we had another one on Monday on the 9th. So collectively, if everything was vibing correctly, we would not be having these geomagnetic storms. So collectively, there is something going on that needs addressing.
Thank you for recognizing that, Jillian. I think there are several on this call that I know would be going, we notice a lot of those things. Some of us are very energetically connected to our environments, and it can really, we walk into a room and we can go, whoa, this ain't my space. And when you can recognize that, you also have to know when you armor up and when you actually have to be vulnerable to deal with what that is that's showing up that you may be the solution for, even when it's an uncomfortable conversation. How do you create the synergy and energy in yourself to feel protected in that environment, but still able to be vulnerable to help uncover the issues that is, going to crack open that problem and turn it into a solution instead of just a barrier. So thank you very much for that, Jillian. Julia.
Yeah, I kind of forgot my question because the conversation went in a new direction. And I loved your first slide, Susan, with that had the clouds and the question you asked. And I was zeroed in on that. But what I want to share now is that I think being an entrepreneur and a woman in business is like a marriage. If you haven't worked on your own crap, you're going to project it on other people. You're going to project it in situations until you own what it is within yourself that might have created a certain situation. And the other thing I was thinking about was how powerful women are. Like there's this big wealth transfer coming, right? That a lot of wealth is being transferred to women in the next couple decades. And I just read something about Sam Walton's daughter. He had one daughter, the guy that started Walmart in Arkansas. She just built this state-of-the-art medical school in Arkansas that's free. And I don't know, she's worth 100 billion. You don't hear about men doing this kind of thing, right? Like women want to build communities. And when I lived in Saudi Arabia, one of my colleagues was actually her name was Dr. Abedin. Her daughter was Huma, Hillary Clinton's aide. But anyway, she said women are the backbone in all communities because they raise the men that end up being part of the patriarchy. So I just really appreciate the power that all the women here have. And Susan, you bringing in this humanitarian piece, because I think that's the piece we don't get celebrated for. It's just sort of like expected. Oh, women are nurturing, women will support, women will this, but there's so much power behind that that affects communities in a big way. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that I appreciate being a female in this lifetime among women like you guys.
Thank you. Sam Walton's daughter also is the force behind the Crystal Bridges Museum that is so spectacular there in Bentonville. And she really has recognized the fact that being in a part of the country that doesn't have the big cities to provide some of those nurturing, whether it is wellness or art or things that allow youth to discover who they are and their uniqueness, she felt it was important to make those things available for them because they cannot necessarily get on a plane and fly to the great museum that may be in New York or go to Stanford University. But if they have things closer to them, that is part of what, to me, humanitarian is looking at what can we do maybe on a smaller scale. We may not have the funding that she has, but when we look at what skills we have, when we look at what knowledge we have, and what emotional ability we have to share things with people respectfully that others seem to have such difficulty with, anytime we share our gifts, we are helping to create that humanitarian respect for others that allows us to expand the goodness in the world. I don't know if any of you have, and I know I didn't put anything about this because as I said to Kathleen the other day, as I was trying to put together a PowerPoint for this, I realized I had a PowerPoint for about a week long discussion. It was not something that was 1 hour. It was way more than that. However, David, God, I'm now scrunching on his name. David, well, anyway, Power versus Force is the book he wrote. And he talks about the whole energetic levels of what you feel and what is in the energy that an individual can do to impact the world. So that ties into what Jillian was talking about earlier. And I've been in rooms where somebody's reading the energy. They've got somebody, checking the energy of the room, and they would literally walk up to somebody in the room and say, something has triggered you. Let's reset that so that we can make sure that the energy of this room continues. So I just want to move forward because otherwise we may never get to another slide. I'm going to share this is truly kind of ties into exactly what we've been talking about. The stress of navigating life and business, and I don't need to read all of these because in a way you have all brought up something along these points. Do you have immediate family or extended family that you're caring for, or you're looking out for the health of yourself or others in your family? The chaos around us in the world that creates that uncertainty, the way you want to grow business, or you way you want to serve a business that you are either A, part of, or B, in service to as a consultant or as a coach. And then when you think about engaging the employees, one of the things I find so disheartening is that we are using technical things and AIs to decide who has the right criteria, when sometimes, as our lovely Angela pointed out last week, it's dismissing something because it's decided to ask a question that doesn't have a way for you to put in the additional information that would say, I may not have that experience, but here's how I've worked with others that do. How are we setting up the right hiring and retention? What communications of things do we need to do? And when you get through those things, you start to go, okay, hold on, this is not wanting to move forward. That loneliness ends up being a major part behind all of these things. And when you look at 21% of adults report that they have serious loneliness, when Harvard did a study on this, look at this: technology, insufficient time with family, too busy, mental health, living in a society that has become so individualistic that they don't know where to connect with others, lack of either a religious or spiritual foundation, and just the total changing of work with the anxiety about where are we going. I don't think there's anything there that you guys didn't already bring up. So from that standpoint, I think, is there something that comes up for you that would truly say, and thank you for putting in the David Hawkins. I was coming up with a combination of several different names. So I love that you put that in for me, Carrie. Again, that just shows that whole support of this sisterhood here. Terry, you've got a comment to add.
Well, I would add to your slide in terms of the loneliness and isolation. Um, those of us who are in leadership and coaching and consulting advisory positions can be really lonely. I was talking to a woman yesterday who is a very accomplished CHRO, Chief Human Resources Officer. And she was talking about how lonely it is and how, because of her role and how many of the confidentialities she has to keep and has to be neutral, that she cannot have close relationships in the workplace because it would compromise her role of being that neutral person in the organization. And I think we as coaches and consultants, so often we are expected to be both an authority and we are expected to be the calm in the room. And so that adds another layer of other people's expectations and our own expectations. And then how do we fill our bucket?
Yeah, I love that you're saying that. So to me, just to kind of move this forward, I'm going to share again. Hold on, as soon as I can, the bouncing back and forth, but this to me is where we start to see we have to figure out how we use the language, because it's language that makes the human civilization a possibility. How we communicate, how we do it with words, pictures, all those things that truly make it possible for us to go forward. And why am I having such a trouble? To create those healthier relationships when we can really connect with somebody and understand who we are and how what they say is received by us, but also how what we say is received by them. And I think the key part of that ends up being emotional intelligence. So when you look at what Daniel Goleman has provided, he puts it into the self-regulation, motivation, empathy, self-awareness, and the social skills. But to me, if you look at it in that progression, you're frequently missing that both self-regulation and self-awareness kind of go hand in hand, and empathy and social skills do as well. When they are working together, that creates a motivation that's a positive force instead of a triggering that may be a negative force. So I'd like to say, I'm going to put these questions in the chat. I'm going to take them off the screen because what I'd love for us to be able to do is talk about some of these things that when you're looking at self-awareness, I've come up with 4 questions to say what might be the thing that creates a better understanding for you. How is it that you start to recognize what you are aware of with yourself and what you are afraid of for yourself? Because at times it's like, wait a minute, this is something that, as it was Deb that said, oh, I just want to, I want to be a turtle. I don't want to have to address that. Sometimes we need that partner in a sense in a conversation. It's something we need to do alone, but we either need to have practiced it with somebody else to be able to say, oh, what if this comes up? How am I going to do this? For some of us, that's an AI, but sometimes we still need that cognitive input from a human being to make it not be like, oh, I just read this in a book, but that real connection of what is it that, wait a minute, I just think, yeah, I'm sorry. I see I have copied the same, I put something in a Word document to make it easier to fill this in, and I see I copied it twice. These are the ones for empathy. Those things you say are an oops. This is one of them. I have put the ones in for, yeah. Here we go, folks. I'm gonna.
We all have a little laugh here. Sometimes tech stuff is contagious. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And I have to say, I was the first that started it, so I take responsibility, Susan, for like the tech stuff. So we're getting rid of that energy, right? Getting rid of it.
So it's like, what makes you feel alive and fulfilled? Recognizing these things help you to know who you are. When do I feel the most at peace with myself? What makes me comfortable? What makes me uncomfortable? What personal values? When I do bank programs with organizations, I've done it both with the teachers and students, but I've also done it in commercial settings or in a municipality where we said we've looked at our bank code and we know what those 4 things are. And most of you know that that's a tool that I work with and am certified to train and do. But here's the thing. You can look at those things and say there's 24 combinations of such, but it's an infinite spectrum because every single one of us brings a completely unique person to that code. So I always say, what's the one word that spoke to you? And when you take that from a big chunk to one word, and then they tell you why that word's important to them, all of a sudden you've got a talking point that you didn't have to pull out of them. They were happy to say, you're looking at me, you're sharing something about me that you want to know and engage with. And that all of a sudden allows you to respect them. The other piece of it is, what values am I still trying to grow? What do I see as something I want to expand upon? It may not be that it's a weakness, but it may be a part of me that I know if I grow it, it will add to my strength. And so when you start to do that with the development and using empathy, it requires you to do both that visual observing, that observing through your hearing, but also exploring so that you really understand that other person's perspective. And that's when we get to the questions I had dropped in the chat, which are really about what kind of relationship supports you. where does this happen to, really feed you? And I'm going to stop the share for this because we do have those in the chat. And I will get those other ones pulled out to add to the thing. But what I think starts to become interesting is these are not telling somebody they're right or wrong. It's about the discovery of who are they, who are you, where do you come together on things, where do you have an opportunity to learn something from somebody that you never even thought about, and all of a sudden you are curious to know more. It's that curiosity that helps to build the connection because it allows them to see you aren't just trying to talk at them. You are truly engaging with them. And when you engage with them, they can feel that they are being seen for being a total different person in the context of where they live and work. And all of a sudden, it's easier for them to be vulnerable. And as leaders, frequently, if we start to shout what's important to us, you end up with employees or teammates that think, uh-oh, I got to say that's what's important to me. Sometimes you need to start by not telling everybody what you think, but finding out what they feel, what they think. And you might be surprised you've got a topic you need to talk about you hadn't even planned on. And you might be able to move what you wanted further because you resolved something you hadn't even realized was a stumbling block. It's that curiosity, that ability to hear, truly hear what somebody is saying and how they want to be seen and heard in any of those conversations. Cece, I see that you added one word, alignment, standing out, showing us clear, grounded, ready to interact. With recovery from triggering and sharing the teaching from the heart. Yes, it is about the heart. And what I would love to hear is what's coming up for any of you. I appreciate that Cece put hers in the chat. Anybody want to say, add something to this discussion? This truly is, to me, I don't care if I don't even get through all of my slides, because to me, what's important is we collectively start to recognize we can turn to each other and find ways to continue and expand this so that we do have this humanitarian concept as a way to make things better in life and in business. Anybody got anything they want to add? God knows I can babble on, folks.
Susan, I really appreciate that this is all about who we are and who our clients are and who our community is, not necessarily the what. Because I think what I notice is in the workplace and in life, there's so much pressure on what it is that we're doing, what are we accomplishing, what are the outcomes, the what instead of the who. And so thank you to you for bringing this up. And I concur with Cece. To me, it's all about the heart for me, my heart, my life force energy, my commitment, caring, love. That's it for me. So thank you. How about others?
Anybody else?
Well, I mean, Susan and Kathleen kind of know this just based on some stuff I put on social media the last couple of days. My little heart is getting battered. And, from a variety of things. And, and I, sometimes, like I said, turtle time, right? But I know I can't do that. And so it's, how do I find those inner reserves to keep going? And I don't like to, be telling people, oh, poor me, oh, poor me. I mean, but yeah, sometimes we just get battered, and it's a variety of, the worldwide stuff all the way down to, we lost one of our dogs over the weekend, and, just all sorts of stuff. And so my little heart's just a little blue at the moment.
And thank you for being willing to share that, Deb, because I think that is also, who do you know that can be that for you? That person that, I had somebody send me a text this morning. She's been on my heart because I know what she's been through for the last few months, giving at work, giving to family, doing all sorts of things when I know what she really had wanted to do this summer was give to herself. And she gave that up in order to be what she knew her family needed. She reached out this morning saying, I'm overwhelmed. I'm embarrassed. I'm not in a better state. And I'm like, time out, honey. Think of what you've done and how you've made everybody else, and how this is for you that wake up call of what do you need and what do you need to be able to share with them so that they understand that you are not the money bank, the emotional bank, the support for everything of theirs, and no one's giving to you. You start to recognize where you need to be poured into. And one of the images I did for myself the other day that I will use moving forward is an empty cup and then the cup running over where the coffee is pouring into the saucer, because you need to pour from the saucer to others instead of emptying your cup and having nothing that supports you. And we frequently are so, as Jillian said, expected to be the nurturing. From what I know of bank, I've got friends I know that nurturing is not their first. It is sometimes their very last. And we have talked about them going, why does so and so think I'm going to do this? And I'm like, because you framed it in a way that they hear nurturing, and you're framing it as this is an expectation that they need to follow, and they're hearing it from their ears, not from your clues. And how do we help them to hear it from their clues? Why doing it from a different perspective might be the way to do it at this point. Julia.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. What that brings to mind is something that comes up a lot with my clients, that they feel selfish when they put themselves first. And I constantly give the message, you are not hurting anybody by putting yourself first. People or women can get so wrapped up in midlife in the identity that they've had. And when they don't feel fulfilled and they aren't listening to their own needs, they think it's selfish to put themselves first. They say, I'm low on the list, or I'm not even on the list. And who they're really hurting is themselves and the ones that they serve, because, it's like being on the airplane and the oxygen mask drops. You put it on first so you can help the next person. So you can't give from an empty cup. I mean, kind of going back to your visual, Susan.
And I think, and I put in the chat, self-care is not selfish, because when you care for yourself so that you have the strength and the energy to do what you need to do to care for others, then you are truly giving to them the goodness that they need, and not a level of support that they are hoping for more, and in fact resentful that they are not getting more sometimes. It is that understanding of what is important to us in order to not just survive, but thrive. And I think one of the things we as women seldom do is have that, whether you want to call it a personal board of directors, somebody you can call. I will tell you, in this room, Cece is somebody who I have known since 81 or 82. She moved in when she married the boy next door, and she stood up for me at my wedding, and we are both divorced, and we say so for all the good it did either of us. But our friendship has continued on. She knows that there are times I will reach out to her and go, okay, I'm going to unload. You're not expected to solve this, but you will hear me. And sometimes we just need that, who will hear you. And other times you become that resource for them. These are the things that in life you start to figure out. I've got this friend I can call when I've got technical issues, but they are not the person I call when I'm in an emotional state. Who is it that can do what you need them to do in respect of who they are and how they deal with situations? Terry.
So two things. One is society-wise, we get a lot of, particularly as professional women, we get a lot of suck it up buttercup. And so in terms of self-care, or even letting people know that you need to take a beat, that you need to take a step back so you can take more steps forward. It can be really hard sometimes. And the other thing is, when it comes to self-care, there's immediate self-care, taking care of me right now so that I am, putting my oxygen mask on. Then there's also taking care of those things that if I don't make sure that my family member, that we have the right legal things in place so that this person can be treated with dignity and respect, and we don't ever have to go in to court and declare that this person cannot take care of themselves, which would be horribly embarrassing. So I'm focusing on stuff right now, but then I'm also saying, if I don't take care of this other long-term stuff, that is self-care too, because that is so down the road going to be a train wreck. And I personally get frustrated when I'm waving my arms and shouting and saying, help me do this so we don't have to deal with this. And somebody says, oh, well, we'll get to it because I can see it worries you, but
It's helping them to see from
let
their
me put it back on your let me put that back on your list, Terry, because it's obviously just about you and it's not about something
a
that's
lot of times
really.
it is very much how do you present that issue so they can hear it from their point of view. That's one of the things we really focus on in and I mentioned bank because I've spent 10 years really understanding these different perspectives that when you put them together, all of a sudden what you're asking them to do, they go, oh, now I get it because I can hear it from my perspective, not from yours. Somebody may need to hear the issue is if we do not take care of this now, when such and such happens, this will be the doom situation. And I know you want to eliminate risk. Oh, eliminate risk for me. Gee, that's a great idea. How soon can we get to that? It's not about what am I feeling, it's that logistical question that they can process. And it's figuring out sometimes how do you put that together so that they hear it from their perspective, not your own. We are not
Well,
going to be able to answer that today, but it is those sort of awarenesses that as we look at humanitarianism, you start to recognize it's part of the puzzle in putting it all together. So
Yeah, and
you know,
that
my
up.
point was not
Oh, I know it wasn't,
that
honey.
specific, but that long-term versus short-term, particularly when most of the people in this room I know are doing that every day.
Yes, yes. And surprisingly, sometimes for the one they least expected to need it. A lot of times it's not the one that you thought. I mean, I can, from my own perspective, we lost my brother before we lost my mother and my father. That was not the expected, progression in life that we were facing. And you start to understand that anything can happen someday that you were not planning on. But the same thing can happen, and that's part of the whole ideas about business at this point. Everybody's on pins and needles. Will my business succeed? Will my client be there next week? Uh-oh, what if their business fails? And I was counting on, just that whole piece of things that are coming. So I've got a couple more things I'm going to share with you, and I love this Rumi quote because it's like yesterday I was clever, so I thought I'd change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. Because really, this is the only piece we can control. And we frequently are looking at it from, well, if they do this, I could do that. And instead, we need to really recognize what is it that's in my control? What of it is my ability to take care of for myself? And I think a lot of people have heard Mel Robbins go, let it go, or heard, in the whichever one of the Disney movies, Let It Go. You know, there's all those different options for that. So we really need to, you know, look at things from a different perspective. And so when we take that and we add in, how do we show respect? It's partly being grounded, understanding it so that you have the framework to work from. You create this shared expectations. Where's the win for them, not just the win for you? You approach it with an openness, an ability to hear something, not waiting for the response that you respected or expected. And then respect doesn't mean agreement. You can both have an idea and recognize that that is not where you're going to go with it. It's going to be two diversely different concepts, but where do you find the ground in the middle to make things work? And when you frequently can do that, you create that safer ability for collaboration in the long-term relationships. So those are some of the things that I think we can approach. And I got to figure this out, dang. So when you think about all of those things, it might be, how do you start to see yourself as a humanitarian? And how might you see and respect the humanity in others you do business and life with that may be irritating the heck out of you in some situations, or you have such pity for, that you maybe are not respecting what goodness they have to bring to a situation. So, yes. This quote I love. In the past, jobs were all about muscles. They're about brains, but in the future, they will be about heart. So what both Cece and Kathleen said about us engaging with heart, the more technology and AI seems to be taking on the tasks that do not require us to think or engage emotionally, really allows us to stop and think about, how do we deal with the heart-based pieces of these things in order to, you know, move through. So at this point, I'd really like to say, breathe in the joy. Imagine a life where ease is there with purpose and passion. And when you breathe that in, let's go back to that first question. What if you could feel at peace within to handle everything that is thrown at you in life?
Susan, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Ladies, what's your biggest takeaway from our time together? And of course, we would love some appreciation, acknowledgement of Susan. We've got about 5 minutes left. You know, we'd like to get you in and out, right? So much value, so much juice, so much of who you are. Jump in. Your biggest takeaway. Yeah, thank you, Thank you. Molly, jump in.
Susan, thank you. It was so wonderful, and I'm so glad I cleared things so that I could be here. I just, like, I needed this. I needed the reminder to slow down, and really manage my own energy and level up on the EQ so that I can be there for the other people, because it really is, my cup is full with the work I do. Now let me pour that out onto other people. And I loved pouring from the saucer. Loved that. That was my favorite. And I hope you don't mind if I use that with some of my people. So thank you, Susan.
Beautiful. Who else? Let's give some appreciation to Susan. Wow, rich, right, ladies? So rich. So fabulous. Yeah. Jump in, Carol. Jump in, Terry. Anyone else? Jump in.
Well, so much richness, so much that I'm going to have to go back and think about this. I'm hoping Susan will be willing to share some of her key slides, because I really want to go back and absorb some of these pieces. And I will tell you not only the message, but what was really cool as she was going through her slides and watching everybody in the room nodding.
Yeah.
That this is something as a group that we've all experienced and that we're all figuring out. So thank you to Susan, and thank you to the group today.
Yeah. Carol, jump in.
I loved that it was all that it starts with us, understanding how we can be peaceful in the midst of change and all of that, so that we have the emotional intelligence to reach out to others. And I love the Rumi quote about when I was clever, I thought I'd change the world. And when I was wise, I thought I have to start with me. I don't know that I've done it justice, but I loved that you shared that. Thank you.
I put in the chat, I'm going to do, because even I'm making myself available for 90 minutes. I don't plan to make it a 90-minute presentation, more just allow the conversation to expand. So I put in there you can register for that Zoom. It is a free session on that Saturday, the 23rd, 11 a.m. Central, where I'm at, 12 if you're Eastern, 10 if you're Mountain, 9 if you're Pacific. And, what I'd love to be able to do is find out what is coming up for you that we need to address to make this really a movement we can help others to understand how they can have more effect in their life that is a positive effect on both themselves, what they want in personal relationships, and what they need in business relationships. Because I think there is so much of this that when you bring it into business, all of a sudden the things that have been a struggle may not become easy, but the simplicity of knowing what to do next is so much clearer, and it allows you to really work on the problem instead of work on things that do not move the problem out of the way or move the solution forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Susan, our replay, and all of you ladies, our replay will be up within 24 hours. We're going to do some activation on LinkedIn. We would love for you to socially activate this wonderful session, and feel free, you can, in the LinkedIn post, put your appreciation for Susan, takeaways, anything that comes to mind. That would be really good. And today you get to be part of the movement, right, Susan? You're just moving forward in a beautiful, holistic way. Nothing forced, just you're walking the talk, Susan. And I so appreciate you for that. And so, any final words, Susan, before we complete?
In addition to the summit, I've put in there, if you would like to know your bank code, there is a link in the chat. I will post it again online. And it's when you do the 4 cards, you will see the 4 cards. You can read the 12 words on the 4 cards. You order them in most like you to least like you, submit that. It'll send you a link to a 20+ page report about you. The beauty of that is that we all have been through those assessments that take us 45 minutes. This takes less than 90 seconds. And even on LinkedIn, I can crack somebody's code in nanoseconds. There's a lot of great things about this, not replacing other things, but adding to how to make it easier to communicate. And happy to share that with people.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, ladies, thank you. As we complete, we'd love for you to take yourself off mute and, hey, just say the word, your takeaway. Mine is love. Take yourself off mute. Thank you. Love and heart.
Patience.
Thank you.
Peace.
Presence.
Art. I think I'm gonna copy Terry and say peace.
Wonderful. Great. Well, what a beautiful way to complete our call. Thank you, ladies. More to come from Susan K. Younger. Bye. We'll see you next Thursday. Love to all of you. Thank you.
Wonderful, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.